Grace be unto you and peace from God our Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ. I was glad when they said to me, let us go into the house of the Lord. I'm Father Steve Sellers, and thank you so much for tuning in to my YouTube channel today for this brief daily message of hope and inspiration. And I hope your day is off to a wonderful start. As you can hear, the traffic here in the eastern part of North Carolina is picking up behind me. I'm coming to you from just outside of Wake Forest, North Carolina. It's not quite 6:30 a.m. here, and I'm glad you've tuned in. Thank you so much. And whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, we're glad to have you here so we can help each other and grow in our knowledge and love of the Lord and encourage each other to be joyful in the midst of it. I was thinking this morning when I got up about an hour and a half ago or so, that I ran into two people at the different airports yesterday, and two young men, and one of them came up to me with tears in his eyes, and he said, "Father, could you please pray for my unborn child?" And I asked him how far along his wife was, and he said that she was about 5 months along, and it was a difficult pregnancy for her. And of course, I prayed for him, gave them my blessing, and proceeded on our way. But later, last night, I ran into another man who came over to me here at the airport in Raleigh, and he had a little different approach. He wanted some advice. When I wear my collar when I travel, so it attracts people, and I'm glad it does, because I enjoy meeting people and hearing about them and where they are in life. And if I can help, that's great. And if they can help me, that's even greater. So this man just wanted advice. He said that he was having trouble controlling his drinking, and because of the drinking, and I've got a bee coming at me here, so I'm going to move over this way. And so he was having trouble with language. He was cursing and swearing, and he found that he was angry all the time. And as a result of that, he was harming people around him, and he was exploding in anger for all sorts of things. And he just wanted to know what he could do to better control himself. And of course, I talked to him a little bit, as a counselor as well as a priest. I do that a lot, and he didn't seem to have any reference point in the spiritual life at all. And I was thinking this morning when I got up, that was quite a contrast between those two men, both of whom, one was probably mid-20s, the other might have been mid-30s, but I can't tell anymore these days how old people are, and I don't really need to. But I enjoyed meeting both of them, but it was a contrast to me, showing very clearly to me that there are two kingdoms in this world. Yes, there are two kingdoms in this world, the kingdom of the flesh and the kingdom of the spirit. They are different. They are not, they don't blend into each other. They have separate value systems. They have separate expectations placed on the people who are in those kingdoms. And they have separate behavior patterns. And they are different in almost every single way. Jesus illustrates that in John chapter 10, verse 10, where he's speaking to his apostles and said, the thief comes only to kill and maim and destroy. But I came that they might have life and have it in abundance. So in many respects, these two kingdoms are the kingdom of death and the kingdom of life. The young man with the pregnant wife was coming out of a spiritual need for looking outside of himself for help. He realized that he was going to need all of God's help and the angels and archangels and the company of heaven to raise that little baby to be a kind and compassionate, loving and forgiving person. And he knew that he needed help from God to do that. The other young man seemed to be taking on the characteristics of the Lord of this world. And make no mistake about it, Satan is angry, he's profane, he wants everyone to be just as miserable as he is. Remember, he's defeated by the Lord Jesus Christ, and he knows what his future holds. And we know what our future holds when we hold fast to the Lord Jesus Christ. But the second young man seemed to have no really interest other than getting some advice of how to get by in the world that he's chosen to live in, which is a world of anger and violence. St. Paul makes it abundantly clear in Galatians chapter 5 when he talks about the fruits of the flesh and the fruits of the Spirit. They're contrary to each other. The fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There are about 15 works of the flesh, starting with sexual immorality, violence and anger and raging and drinking, carousing, party favoritism, jealousy, envy, and all those types of things, as St. Paul tells us in that passage. We can tell pretty well what path we're on by what we produce in our lives. And it illustrates the two kingdoms are at work. Don't be misled by people who talk a good game and then the fruit that they produce in their life is anger and bitterness and jealousy and wrath and envy and covetousness and profanity and obscenity and pornography. And pornography is a big one now. It is one of the fastest growing addictions in the world, as a matter of fact, because never before in human history has so much horrible, horrible filth been so instantly available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to anyone of any age who has an electronic device and a Wi-Fi connection and knows how to push a button. And it's free. And it is pervading society today. And people who spend prolonged time watching pornography, just like those who spend prolonged time watching violence on their electronic devices, start to take on the characteristics of the Lord of this world, not the Lord of heaven and earth, the Lord Jesus Christ. And the good news is you can turn to Christ anytime you want, anytime. You may be feeling angry all the time and bitter. I know that the traffic out there on Highway 1 is going to be busy this morning as I make my way around today. But I pray the rosary when I drive because I know who's in charge of my life and I know whose kingdom I want to belong to. And I want to produce the fruits of that kingdom. I pray that you do too. And I hope that I can help you do that and encourage you because it's unlike anything else. There's nothing that can compare in this world to the joy of knowing the Lord Jesus Christ and feeling and experience the joy that He has for you. And oh yes, He loves you and He's right there with you. Turn to Him this morning, right as you get up. Ask Him to share His joy with you today and to show you how to produce the fruits that He wants you to produce. All you have to do is ask and remember that He loves you. God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow.